As a matter of fact, we know they're not even Jews. You know? But for us, it's been real, and it's still real. And so, while I find my little notes, we're going to talk about hate. You got a flyer coming? That's what I'm talking about. See, that's why he's the boss. That's why he's in charge. How many persons here have been to Haiti in their life? 2. How many persons of Haitian heritage? Family from Haiti. You realize that there's an attack on the black people in Haiti right now by the American white government. The black elements of our government is this bunch of cowards. They're not saying nothing, they're not doing nothing. Contrary to just a couple of sisters who happen to be Muslim in the Midwest who's raising hell about Palestine. We got that whole big black caucus and their mouth is closed about Haiti. The people in Haiti, they're now trying to, because they want to come in with their army because they've lost control. They're telling you the same thing they told us when Biden wrote the criminal codes that threw so many of our brothers and sisters in the penitentiary. Oh, they're on crack and they got guns. And they're killing people and they're raping people. And so they're gangs. They're Bloods and they're Crips. So we got to murder all the Bloods and the Crips. And we said to all little babies, go murder them because they wearing a red. Go murder them because they wearing blue. Go murder them because they call themselves a Crip. And we will say it's all right because the community is being made safe. Our community is no safer than it ever was and won't ever get safer until we make it safe. But they managed to put more black kids in the penal system in a 20-year period of time. And then in 20-year slavery period, people being enslaved. And we thought it was all right. We sanctioned it. Bill Clinton signed it. And he put on some dark glasses and played a saxophone and said, I'm the first black president. Bill Clinton opened the bases in Arkansas, the General Secord and all the North to bring the cocaine in to make the crack from. And then he signed the bill to put our kids in jail for using the crack. But now that their kids are on oxycodone, they changed the law. You don't go to jail anymore. You got a little thing to give you a shot. And then you get some counseling. But Haiti is important. Haiti, being the only nation in the history of the world that was born from an enslaved population, creating a republic of their own. No one else in the history of the world, north, east, south, or west, has ever pulled that off. Haiti destroyed Napoleon Bonaparte and brought France down to the ground, like we said. Haiti created a republic where any black man or woman in the world, if they crossed those borders, were free according to the Constitution of the people of Haiti. Haiti financed the revolution in Central America, South America, financed the Great Boulevard to free their people from Spain's control. And ask only one thing: take the shackles off my black people when you get your freedom. Haiti brought an end to slavery in the Western Hemisphere. That was the beginning of the end to slavery in the Western Hemisphere because of those brothers and sisters in Haiti. And they have been suffering ever since for having done that. The vengeance against them have been about that. And they hate our brother Dessalines. They hate Toussaint too, but they really hate Dessalines. So don't tell us about Toussaint, because Toussaint was acting like some of us act today. Oh, let's sit down and make peace. I know you killed my mother. I know you raped my daughter. I know you burned my father. And yes, you did crush my house. But let's sit down and make peace. Dessalines didn't say that. Dessalines said, I'm coming to cut your head off because you did all of those things. And you know what he did? He went and he cut the head off. And he burnt their houses to the ground. And he used the term, coupetet bouleka. Take their heads, burn their homes. He did that to over 2,000 French people who he told to leave the country. He said, we've defeated you, but we don't want to kill you. We're going to give you a ship. Would you get on the ship and go home to France? We're going to give you enough food and water and guns to protect yourself from the pirates. And there was some who was arrogant enough to say, we're not going. So the ones who got on the boat and went out, they were dirty enough, when the ship just got enough out of the reach, they turned the cannons of the ship back on Port-au-Prince. People just gave you your freedom, gave you your life, gave you food and water for you to go home. And the first thing you do is turn those cannons on Port-au-Prince and open fire. And those who stayed, the whites, they told the Polish people, you fought on our sides. You're not a black man and a black woman. You belong to Haiti. He told the Italians, you fought on our side. This is in literature. This is written down. He told the Italians, you are now black people. You can stay in Haiti as a full citizen. But you French people, because of what you did to us, you got to go. They wouldn't go. So he commissioned his army and he killed all of them. That's why you never hear them mention the name Dessalines. Because he did that. And for that, some of his own comrades collaborated and murdered him in collaboration with the Catholic Church and the French and the American and British and Spanish government. And one of them, I'm a Prince Hall Mason, and I'm proud to be a Prince Hall Mason. Prince Hall is one of the greatest organizations we've ever built in the Eastern Stars. But we don't know enough about them, but we don't know how to keep them up. But they named the lodge in New York Boyer. But Boyer was one of the collaborators that killed Dessalines, along with Christophe, along with Pétion. And then turned and attacked the voodoo religion, which was the very thing that won the revolution, and put us back in the hands of the Catholic Church. So intellectually and psychologically, we lost our way again. And so my discussion today, and somebody's going to time me, because I want to know when it's 4 o'clock. I want to know when it's 4:30. I am not going to miss my flight.
I know that's right.
But I know you came because there's a lot of things people are looking for. And many of you got some of the things. That's why you're here. You've been on a journey. But sometimes the journey gets lonely because your own mates, your husband or your wife, not on the journey with you. Sometimes your brothers and sisters in your family, your siblings are not on the journey with you. Sometimes your parents may not be on the journey with you. And it gets very lonely to try to be on this journey of African restoration and not have those who you love the most being on the journey with you, or even appreciating your being on the journey. Mm-hmm. Because what we're doing, we're bringing something back to the whole family, to the whole household. But in the household, you get disturbed. Brother Brandon. Brother Brandon come all the way down from Houston. The head is like, she's the most beautiful brother in the world.
Right now.
Brother Brandon. So, this journey that you're on is an important journey. So, one of the things we said, how to gain political power. I want to read these 5 things, because I'm probably not going to deal with them at all. I want to read them and put them out there. How to gain political power. We already know how to do that. We've got political power in Baltimore. What we should have said, how to use political power when you get it. Okay? The need to have a spiritual foundation in our community. We got a spiritual foundation. The Baptist Church, the AME Church, and the other churches, but you know what we've allowed? We've allowed for criminals and collaborators to take the spiritual foundation out from under us so that they can make money, send their kids to college. They can have the fancy cars. They can live in a nice suburb. But you got to keep on tithing. Even though the tithing is only asked for on one occasion in the Bible, and tithing is never made to be something you do every week. It was a one occasion thing that should have been done. You know, you ain't never see Christ tithing with nobody. You know, and I'm raising Christ because a lot of times I got to just, because I nobody's been as hard on Christianity as me. And it doesn't really matter whether the particular brother named Christ that we call ever lived. But somebody like that has lived in every generation. And at that particular time in history, somebody did live, because the Romans were chasing somebody who was fighting against them. And it may well be the man that they're trying to configure. And we know that that type of character has been in our history even before that date and occasion of the Roman Empire. And so when somebody wrote this down in the document to create a memoir for you to pattern your life after, they had to look back at something to get that information. And the only person that had a written culture at that time for them to look back at was an African culture. And so they took our information and recast it in their culture and represented it to us, and didn't even know how to teach what they presented. And then we got there and took their confusion and got even more confused. And so those of us who are on this journey now, back home, it says the other ones is the healing that has to take place between the woman and the man. I'm gonna leave that flat. Debunking the myth that we don't have buying power in our community and how to organize. That one is an important one because we have the buying power. We've got money to throw away. Ask Adidas or any of those companies that we made rich or buy some sneakers that was made in Korea or someplace for $2 that we spent $200. We know how not to use money wisely. But the thing is how to use money wisely. But it's all going to come back to the same question. Who are you and do you know who you are? See, because who is it that you try? I think Dr. Hilliard told us in the speech once, he said, all content have intent. All content have intent. You're the content, what's your intent? And the question becomes, how do we determine intent? How do we arrive at knowing what intent should be? And then you have to discuss, what is the composition of the content that we expect in this intent to come? And that's when we get back to the same old question, spirituality and culture. Spirituality and culture. And we think culture is a good dance troupe, or a good rapper, or a good gospel singer, or a good jazz player. But those things are not culture. Those are tools of culture. Those people are participants, artisans in using cultural tools. The thing is, what is the culture that the tool is trying to teach you about? And do the artisans who are using the tools know what the culture is they're trying to teach you about? And spirituality is not religion. Spirituality is your reality. Everybody's here right now because they're participating in an internal spiritual process. Spirituality is your reality. What are your aspirations for this day? Why did you come out here, waste your time to listen to me? You know? I got some cousins back there all the way from South Carolina. You know? And we were just together down in Charleston 2 weeks ago. So you ain't got enough of me talking yet.
Love you, Baba.
So, this African American people who don't know how powerful they are, we're the most powerful African nation on earth, and we don't have an army. You had to do. You didn't have to speak Arabic. You just have to, and you said those 3 or 4 prayers. You was cool. Allah was straight with you, and Muhammad had your coat. But nothing changed in the black community significantly because we changed our religion. Nothing changed. We built the best church. We've got some of the finest churches in America. We went from them little wooden buildings to these cathedrals. Thousands of people come on Sunday, but nothing has changed. Because the only thing that needs to change is you, not the building. Not even your clothing. You, the mind that makes you up needs to change. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it doesn't matter how much money you got, you're not going to be free. You're going to go home to your nice suburban home, and you're going to have your nice money, and you're going to have your bottle of capacity after killing you on one hand, and you're going to have your Merlot killing you on the other. And you're going to wonder where your wife is when you ain't home, and she's going to wonder where you are when he ain't home. And you're all driving, he got his Mercedes, and you got your Beamer, and you're just doing your thing. They said, damn, I thought all I needed was the money. All I needed was the degree. All I needed was the status. All I needed was and then you find that none of those things solve the problem. Mm-mm. There's nothing wrong with having any of that. I got a nice big house in the middle of New Rochelle, a nice little suburb. I got a whole acre in the heart of the city. Look like a little park. But that don't change the fact that my granddaughter got beat up by some other kids in school who was into this thing they call trans kids, and they were trying to pull her into it, and she couldn't get into it. And so their little gang jumped my little baby out in the street. But that's my baby, you know, she had down, and we didn't know she was being terrorized for months. So she had made herself a homemade knife with 2 blades. I said, baby, how long have you carried this thing? She said, for a year, Grandma. For a year, she was terrorized, and she didn't know how to even come to us because we weren't appropriately structured so that baby could come and say, I'm being terrorized by these people. Now, I just raised that because even with someone like me, doing all the things I do, my family still have the crippled spots, the broken spots, the infected spots, all, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. We are still trying to reconstruct and rebuild ourselves. I'm still, as a person, trying to reconstruct and rebuild myself with all of the stuff I know. But what I do know is that reconstruction and that rebuilding must happen, and it must happen based on an understanding of the wisdom of your ancestors. The thing you call history is the wisdom of your ancestors. And so if you can understand studying history, it sounds burdensome. It sounds too easy. It can't be that, freedom can't be that easy. It's too easy to know what happened in in Santee County in South Carolina, in North Santee, in Grandma Mabel's house. Why is that important? Why is it important to know what Aunt Sass meant to the family? What was she teaching in the family? Why is it important to know when Grandpa went to the Knights of Pythias meeting or the Masonic meeting, what they were doing? Why is it important to know that St. Anne's Baptist Church, when I grew up, why they had a school that they had black people had built on the back of it with one teacher, one classroom, as Betty Murray taught me from kindergarten to 7th grade. She just passed away 3 years ago. All of her children went on and finished high school, and about 75% of us went to college. We were in one classroom with one lady, teaching from the 1st grade to the 6th grade. What does she do to us that allowed that to happen? Me and my brothers and all of us have been involved in the movement. What did she do? She didn't have a computer, she didn't have a cell phone. I know we didn't have a phone in school. We took turns chopping wood every day to build a fire in the stove when it was cold and so forth. So but out of that, because she was able to do something for this, we were able to do different things around the world. Become lawyers, become doctors, become school teachers, become engineers, become entrepreneurs from a one lady in a one-room classroom, half as big as this room we are in today. What was going on there? That she understood that God lived in you. And she always told us that. There was a sign, big sign, up over the blackboard. Do unto others as you have them do unto you. Seemed like such a simple thing. We all had to recite that every morning. And then later I learned that, but don't do it because you expect somebody to do anything unto you. You do it because it's the right thing to do. And you bring that into consciousness. Studying your history, you'll see the culture. When we went into the black church after the Civil War, because there wasn't that many of us in the church before the Civil War. Now, there was an AME church that started in the 1700s, and there was a Baptist church, an African Baptist church that started in Atlanta, Georgia, and then South Carolina in the 1700s. But the majority of black people were still doing African things secretly. But after the Civil War, and the terrorism of the Klan and the other white supremacist groups started, we had to find a sanctuary place. So the church became the sanctuary. It was the safe zone that we could go in one day a week and be African without being slaughtered by somebody. And even then, they kicked those doors down. But for the most part, we found safety in the church. Safety to be Africans. But we couldn't just be Africans even in the church. outwardly. So we have to take their documents, right, and find ourselves in it. You understand what I'm saying? You had to take their document, and you had to find Harriet Tubman and Moses. So you could have a discussion about Harriet Tubman, but you never use her name, you use the name Moses. Okay? You had to go in there and find Aaron, despite all of the things that he did wrong. And you had to find Nat Turner and Aaron, but you couldn't talk about Nat Turner, but you could talk about Aaron. You could talk about Frederick Douglass, but you had to talk about Joshua marching around Jericho. Because Douglass at that time was the articulator. And we had others who was using words. If you go and start studying your history, this mundane African American history that people make you think is nothing, you're going to find yourself in a way you never thought yourself existed. How many persons ever read Booker T. Washington's speech that people erroneously call the Atlanta Compromise? Two people. Y'all need to go online and get that speech. What is it called? It's called the Atlanta Compromise. But it's really a speech called the Atlanta, it was at the Atlanta Exposition speech. In the speech, this one man took the English language, spoke to 4 different communities at the same time, ever having any of the other 4 communities think they was not speaking to or understood what he was saying to the other communities. You got to read this speech. This is no compromise. This is absolute genius. Booker T. Washington is one of the greatest leaders we've ever had in America, and they've got us not even talking about it. Not even talking about it. But if you study your history and erase his mystery, you'll see your truth, and you'll see your fire and your power, how it manifests itself right there for you in time and space. You know, in that speech, he told the black people, put your buckets down where you are. Okay? The code word for that is hold onto your land, don't sell it. Put your buckets down where you are, don't move. Hold that land. We didn't listen. We lost the land. Not all of it, but too much of it. He told the white man, that was the speech to the black man. In the next couple of sentences, he told the white man, we, in the days of old, when your fathers were on their sickbed, we served them. Now here's the backside to that. We could have killed the sucker, but we didn't do that. Right? We took care of him. Then he said, so why? And this is a time when the Germans and the Jewish and the Irish immigrants is flooding America right after the Civil War. So he's telling them, he says, why would you take someone whose language, he says this in the speech, why would you take someone whose language and culture you do not understand and show up to replace me, like they're doing right now? Read that speech.